find to be very interesting. No matter who we are, whether it's someone who's very religious and goes to synagogue every day, or there's someone who visits the synagogue once a year on Yom Kippur, or somewhere in between, when we talk about our grandparents, someone mentions our Bubby or Zadie in the old country, we all get excited. We're filled with enthusiasm and excitement. We run back to their room. We bring out the few photos we have of our grandfather with a long beard and our grandmother who covered her hair. And we say, my grandfather, he was a rabbi in the old country. He lived in a small shtetl in Minsk or Pinsk or Atvatsk or wherever it was. And we're so excited to discuss the way it used to be. So let's discuss a story about our grandfather. Your grandfather, my grandfather, the father of the Jewish nation. Let's discuss a famous story about Abraham. The story is told that Abraham was brought up in a society, an environment, that not only wasn't normal to worship idols, but everyone worshipped idols. Schools were all about idol worship. Parents educated their children that way. In fact, every home had a statue of the king at the time, whose name was Nimrod, who everyone considered to be God. To the extent that Abraham's father, Terach, actually owned a store which sold idols. It was a society at a time that people did not discover God, they purchased God. If you were ever interested in buying a new God, you went to your local market, went to the idol store, and looked around. You enjoy this type of God or that type of God, what type of shape and color and form. And if you ever got sick of your old God, you just simply threw it in the garbage and purchased a new one. Now, as senseless this seems, that was the norm of the time. And no one even dared questioning it. It was the obvious reality, and everyone looked at it that way. If you dared question it, you would be looked as an outcast and a crazy. Until Abraham came along, and he started thinking about it and questioning it. Could it be that this idol which I just purchased from the store, the idol that my father just sold to my local neighbor, could be God who creates the heaven and earth? The God who makes the sun rise in the morning and set in the evening? So he started questioning. The story is told that first Abraham, of course, canceled out the option of the idol being the creator. And then he started discovering. He looked up in the sky one morning and he says, the sun is so powerful. He gives light to the entire world. Perhaps he's God. And for one day, Abraham considered that as a possibility until the evening came and he saw the sun starting to set. And the moon took over the reins of the world. They said, perhaps the moon is the God. He's so powerful, he chased the sun away and now he's in control. And every day he came up with a new idea. Perhaps the clouds, perhaps the wind, maybe the rain or the snow. Every day he had another option of what is the overpowering force behind the world. Until Abraham came to the final conclusion. He realized with his own understanding that there must be one God, a God who we cannot see, an infinite God. It's not the sun nor the moon who has power over the world, like people thought at the time. Rather, Abraham realized there's one creator who creates everything. He makes the sun rise and then set, and he makes the moon control at night. It's this one God who makes it rain and snow, light and dark, summer and winter, and all seasons. He realized it's this one God who makes our days good and bad, makes the society and creates the hills and the trees and the whole environment we live in. He realized we're living in a godly world, a godly reality. And it's this one creator who does it all. So if you ever want to see a miracle, you don't need to wait for the next splitting of the sea or for another 10 plagues. Just look around you. Step outside and look at the beautiful world we live in. This is indeed a miracle.